Alright, hello everyone. Today we are talking about the newest update to Fallout 76, Fallout 76 Wastelanders, and I have a very interesting opinion on this particular update. I know a lot of people won't be too happy with it, but I kind of believe that Fallout 76 Wastelanders, more specifically Wastelanders, is in a lot of ways better than Fallout 4. Now, this isn't to say I don't enjoy Fallout 4. In fact, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I've got like 1,000 hours, give or take, much like I do in Skyrim. But a lot of the enjoyment in Fallout 4 comes from the combat mechanics and the fact that you can mod the hell out of it. So Fallout 76 is known for being a buggy mess, and it still has its fair share of bugs, but in the entire week that I have played it after it has gone live, and I have played a fair bit of it, I've not run into any game-breaking bugs. There have been a couple exploits, unfortunately, and just other stuff like that, but it's an online game and people want to cheat, so stuff happens. Also, it is a Bethesda game. You're going to have to expect a certain amount of bugs. However, most of these bugs are the almost charming Bethesda bugs. It's not super game-breaking. It might be annoying, but it could also be entertaining. In the background of me talking, the gameplay you'll see is of an event called Riding Shotgun. This event was actually showed by a Bethesda livestream at some point, and I am using a bow with explosive arrows. Now, for any of you who are interested in the bow, as an archer in real life, I have a couple of opinions on the bow. And I know a lot of people will point out that, the character's holding it weird or whatever, but frankly, I don't care that much about that, and I think in some ways it's even more efficient due to Arab archery, etc. Not getting into that. But if you want to come into Fallout 76 being an archer, you're probably going to have to wait a while until you are actually able to do, anything efficient with it. Because the default bow is about as good as a silenced lever-action rifle. So, yeah, in some cases you're probably just better off using a lever-action rifle because there's a plethora of those already in the game that are legendary, and getting a legendary bow right now is a bit of a pain in the butt. There is a bow that you can get later, referred to as the compound bow, which is another type of bow. A more modern type of bow. You'll see right now I'm using a recurve bow. The compound bow is supposedly more powerful, though I don't have access to it, and I don't know anyone who does have access to it, so we'll see. My assumption is that it might have more range, more damage, which will probably make it more viable, but yeah, you could play a stealth archer if you're a huge fan of that playstyle, but I think that if you want to be, the meta and the best, you'd probably just use a lever-action rifle. And this brings me to another talking point with Fallout 76. The meta that they have right now is kind of weird. If you look at most of the endgame content, you will find bosses and stuff that are a little bit more bullet spongy, and it's a Bethesda game, so that's okay. We're used to that. However, because of how the weapons deal damage, etc., the game heavily favors either weapons with larger magazines or just automatic weapons in general. So, for instance, I can use a handmade rifle and generally do pretty well with both the automatic and the semi-automatic variant. Similar with an explosive laser gun, which is no longer available. It's referred to as a legacy weapon. Because, an explosive laser gun, that's weird. But because it has high rate of fire and a large magazine, I can be pretty well off in terms of DPS. But I started the game as a pistol build. So I was using a revolver. Now, the Western revolver from Nuka World was the best pistol in the game in Fallout 4. And in this game, it's kind of the same. It's the best revolver. I have an anti-armor, explosive, faster reload Western revolver, which is probably one of the best rolls that you can get for a revolver that isn't bloodied or junkies, which are two different type of legendary prefixes for people who don't know. Now, because of its kind of high reload speed, even with that legendary prefix which reduces the reload speed, it's still kind of high, and it only carries 6 bullets, which is typical of a revolver. Now, as I've come to just play around, I got an anti-armor explosive 10mm pistol. Yes, a 10mm pistol, the starting weapon of Fallout 4, and I genuinely believe that as an endgame weapon, the 10mm pistol is better than the Western revolver, simply because it has a bigger magazine, and a little bit because it has a higher rate of fire. The rate of fire is important, but the fact that you don't have to sit there and reload is that's important. This game has a lot more bad guys than Fallout 4. So, for instance, in Fallout 4, you'll run into maybe 5 raiders in one building, in a moderate-sized building. In this game, you'll probably run into more. So it's good to have that rate of fire, and if they're all bunched up, it's nice to be able to mow them all down. And the heavy weapons in this game, especially, have large ammo clips. So all the heavy weapons in this game are totally viable if you want to play around with those. However, pistols, unfortunately, are barely viable in most endgame play. But if you just want to play around with them, then they're great for that. And the lever-action rifle is, again, something that I would say is barely viable. Because while it does do some good damage per shot, if you aren't a stealth sniper-type character, using the lever-action rifle is just, it's not great. It's really not. And same thing with the hunting rifle. The hunting rifle is actually pretty terrible in most aspects, to be honest. The only time you'd ever want to use a hunting rifle is, again, if you're doing a stealth sniper-esque character. So yeah. But all in all, the gunplay and the combat isn't that bad. It's really only the weapon selection that I personally have a problem with. And I'm sure some other people will also have an issue with that. For instance, laser weapons inherit the same armor penetration issue from Fallout 4. So it actually, on release, laser weapons, energy weapons especially, just in general, they did not respect your armor penetrating perks. So a anti-armor laser gun, it was essentially useless. And there is a perk in the perception tree, which is essential to most DPS builds, called Tank Killer, and that did not work for laser weapons either. Now, they fixed Tank Killer and the anti-armor legendary effect, but they did not fix something else. I don't remember what it is. Another YouTuber has a video out there that details it very well. His name is Angry Turtle. And it basically, that bug makes it so that laser weapons are very ineffective at high-level play. So if you guys wanted to roleplay as a Brotherhood of Steel character, I'm very sorry about that. That might be a little harder for you. So yeah, it goes without saying, this is a Bethesda game, there are bugs in it. However, it's not frustrating. It's not the same type of bugs that make you hate the game and want to quit. They're just Bethesda bugs. You love the game, you love the world, and that's really that. So the combat, the gameplay is good. I think you'll enjoy it, most likely. It may be a little rough starting out, but if you are interested in the game because of, you know, the narrative and the gameplay, then I think you will definitely enjoy this game. Now, to talk a little bit more about the narrative, during this public event that you see in the background, there is a character called Eugenie, or I think I'm saying that right, which is a ghoul who is a caravaner. And then there is a Kieran, I think is how I pronounce the name, and who is the more stoic guard character. And I genuinely found that these two characters, the chemistry that they had with their conversation with each other, it honestly seemed better than a lot of the character interactions that we see in Fallout 4. A lot of Fallout 4 had interesting, but it felt kind of fake. Like, the characters were interesting, but they felt kind of fake. And in Fallout 76, that feeling is lessened by a wide margin. I don't feel like most of these characters are fake. In fact, there is one character in the Settler storyline, and I will try not to spoil too much about any of these storylines. There's one character, her name is Jen, and she is a Chinese American, I don't know. But her parents are Chinese. They were involved with the Chinese government, etc., etc. And her storyline is interesting, but the character herself was just, I loved it. I was head over heels for her character and just all of it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just weird appeal, but I really liked her. And I haven't had that with Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. So I think Bethesda has definitely taken off their, you know, oh, we're going to do this with no NPCs. They have embraced the change and they have made good NPCs. With the introduction of the new items and the new plans, you cannot trade these new items. Now, most of them, such as the Gauss pistol, let's say that's one of the first things I bought just because it was kind of cheap and it was interesting, you cannot trade a Gauss pistol with another player. Now, when you make Gauss pistols, they are automatically legendary. They require a legendary module to make, but you can't trade them. And I understand part of why they do this. It's to make sure that you actually, you know, do the reputation grind and get all the gold bullion, but I think what they could do is they could just make it so you can only trade with players that also have unlocked the plan. That would keep the integrity of the grind without making it so stupid and frustrating. Now, something I think is worth noting, I have played Fallout 76 since launch. I've played it off and on. Like, I stopped playing it around middle of December. I started playing it again, maybe April, and then I stopped, and then I kind of started off and on more regularly throughout September to where we are now. And I don't know, it was interesting. I do feel like Fallout 76 pre-Wastelanders has always been a lot more like Minecraft than like Fallout, because in a way you have to make your own adventures. Whenever you play Minecraft, you have to come up with your own projects, ideas, and plans, or else you're just going to be bored out of your damn mind. Which is why when I was younger, I got bored of Minecraft after maybe 2 hours, you know? But that carries over into Fallout 76 sometimes. Even after Wastelanders, there's a little bit of that. It's good to have your own little plan, your project, idea that you want to get done. Having goals in this game is important. Because there's not a main quest to hold your hand through everything, and there isn't a shit ton of Radiant quests or whatever like there was in Fallout 4. Now, the graphics is something I want to talk about. They fixed a lot of graphical errors. That's great. But they added this lighting patch, and I have so many mixed feelings about it. I think it looks great, but at the same time, in some places, I think everything looks horrible. So, yeah. Surprisingly, unlike ESO, which is when they did their lighting patch years ago, they screwed up a lot of stuff. But it seems that this lighting patch didn't really mess a whole lot of stuff up, so that's good. Things look nicer, everything is great. There are a couple of missing features that I want to touch on that we're told would come with Wastelanders. Perhaps it's because of the current pandemic, I don't know. But yeah, so we're going to touch upon that. Hear that, Bethesda? So the first thing I want to touch on is the legendary player system, which was supposed to be a system where every X amount of levels you would get a special perk card, legendary perk card, whatever, that you would be able to use on all of your characters, and it would have some really nice benefits, buffs, perks, whatever. It would be good. They didn't say it would come with Wastelanders, but it's a little disappointing we haven't heard anything about that. Now, the two things that I heard that would be coming with Wastelanders, be it from other people or Bethesda themselves, are a chat box for PC, which I think is extraordinarily important. I will go over why in a second. And a perk loadout system. As it is, there's a mod which does it, but modding in this game is a little annoying compared to Fallout 4 and Skyrim, so a lot of people aren't going to bother. I myself have not bothered, really. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. Having a perk loadout system where you could set up a loadout and then so, okay, I need a craft, so give me my crafting perks. Hit that button, have all your crafting perks. You can do your crafting, and then, okay, I'm going back into battle. Let me hit my general use or my battle perks, max DPS perks, whatever. Having that would be very helpful and would make the perk system extraordinarily less annoying. Because, as it is right now, it is a little bit annoying to accidentally go fight the Scorch Beast Queen using a crafting perk just because I forgot to take it off. Now, the other feature, the chat box, which is, I think, the more important one, is also missing. In this game right now, you are basically forced into a couple of emotes and voice chat. Now, if you have a shitty microphone or you don't have a microphone, you're out of luck. The voice chat also doesn't work perfectly, because I remember on stream with Ninja614 a couple of nights ago, we were having issues with the voice chat system. I mean, we got us to work, but it took a little more finicking than both of us really wanted. So that was annoying. But if I'm talking to random strangers, and I know this is a unique problem, and I probably need to get over it, but it is annoying, and it is a problem, be it minor to some people. I'm a transgender woman. I sound not necessarily like a woman, but I don't necessarily sound like a manly man, but I sound enough like a man that most of the time I get misgendered by voice alone. In public, a lot of the time, if I don't open my fucking mouth, then people can tell I'm a girl. Easy. But in a game where your only method of communication is emotes, which are extremely limited, and a voice chat system, it kind of poses a problem to me, because, I mean, I don't care that much that everyone sees me as a woman, but it is slightly annoying. And you'd be surprised how many LGBT whatever people play this game. I've run into a couple. I do think more of them play ESO, though. I run into a lot of trans people who play ESO. But Bethesda does have that player base. So you're essentially telling them to go fuck themselves. That is a different problem, though. It's not a huge problem, but it is definitely an annoyance, and is one of the reasons that I definitely want a chat system in-game. The other reason, and this one is probably something that Bethesda would be more interested in, because it applies more value to their game, is role-playing. If you look at role-playing in World of Warcraft, Star Wars The Old Republic, and ESO, they all have a chat box, and this chat box is where a majority of roleplay takes place. You type out what you're doing, what you're saying, and then you can kind of move your character around in the game and actually do it. Now, I think in this game, just like Star Citizen, because it is so involved, unlike ESO where it's third person, I mean, you could be first person, and in this game you can be first person, but there's like so much more stuff you can do with your character. I do think having roleplay in this game would be an amazing opportunity for Bethesda to draw in more players, to draw in more just money, because role players are more likely to buy the cool looking stuff in the atomic shop than someone who plays this game for other reasons, because they want to make their character the most role-play-y themselves, whatever. They want that. Role players are your money makers, and by not having a chat box in this game, you are alienating role players. They're forced to do it in Discord or, God forbid, in voice chat, which sucks. So yeah, I think that adding a voice chat, or not voice chat, a text chat is something that Bethesda really needs to do, because it is overdue. I am so tired of having to communicate with people via voice or by Discord, to the point where I have literally put my Discord username and the little pin number or whatever that goes after your Discord username, I have put that in my camp. So if anyone wants to contact me about any weapons or whatever, they want to bargain, barter, whatever, that they can do that via Discord. And I am really sick and tired of that. But we make it work. And that is another thing about this community, is this community has been given a faulty game at release, and we have made something nice out of it. Not necessarily with each other, but we have also given suggestions to Bethesda, and they have acted on them. So Bethesda is listening. That is good. But the community itself is pretty good. So if you're looking for a good community, much like ESO, this game has it. Now, I do also think it is worth mentioning how Bethesda actually didn't totally fuck up with Fallout 76 and just mostly messed up. I genuinely think that Fallout 76 before Wastelanders was a pretty good showcase at Bethesda's world building skills, because yeah, they messed up on lore a little, we had to retcon some stuff, whatever, but the mastery that they have of making a interesting world was exemplified in Fallout 76. We could see it everywhere, and it was really cool. I found myself wandering around and just finding a lot of cool stuff, much like in Skyrim, much like in, actually not as much in Fallout 4, there wasn't a whole lot of that in Fallout 4, but in Skyrim, there was that. There was a natural beauty to the landscape that they created. So I do generally think that Bethesda did a good job with the world building. Now, I'd also like to take a second to talk about the main story of Fallout 76. I actually really like it, except the method of storytelling that they chose, which was no NPCs, through holotapes, through notes, etc., was pretty garbage, to be honest. I hated that. I do think that their story was good, it's just the method of storytelling. I don't know, it was a unique story and it was interesting. It was so bad. Also, just a further note, Bethesda, I know voice acting costs money, but if I have to read what's going on, I am less likely to get the story. I much prefer holotapes over notes. Even though we complain about both of it, I'd much prefer that over the other. So if you're out there, Bethesda, that is something I would take note of. At a certain point in the Wastelanders update, you will be required to do some of the vanilla Fallout 76 story. And there is a reason behind this, there is some stuff that comes with doing that makes Wastelanders easier, whatever, but also you're going to be asked to get to level 20 first. Now, if you just want to bypass that, just go grind. It's fine. You'll get there eventually. But there is a reason behind this. It's not just Bethesda milking their previous content so that you don't get completely bored. And I know that might be a turnoff to some people. I get it. I'm sorry. But I think it's kind of worth it. And the special checks, which is one of the things that I think makes Wastelanders so good, is the amount of special checks that we have in this game versus Fallout 4. you will be ridiculously behind if you don't actually get to level 20 first. So that is an important thing. I know you probably will complain about it, but it is there for a reason, and it's kind of important. I think another important thing to mention is that we have a radio host now. Her name is Julie, or Julia, not quite sure, and she's absolutely charming. I love her, and she really kind of helps make the world feel less empty and dead as it previously did. So there's that. You know, even when you're fighting super mutants where there's no human NPCs around, you have that reminder that the world is no longer empty and completely devoid of human life. It's really nice. Overall, there's a bunch of cool little random encounters that were added to, and I really love basically all of them. So there's that. They also added a couple more mystery-esque things with the game. And if you were one of the people, like me, when you first played Fallout 76, and you noticed the lack of stimpaks, Fallout 4 gave you too many stimpaks. It gave you too many stimpaks. That is just a fact at this point. But Fallout 76, stimpaks rarely dropped. But now you can actually pick them up from things. Like, the rate at which you pick them up from first aid kits, I don't think it's changed that much. But the fact that they're human NPCs and these human NPCs will carry stimpaks really increases the amount of stimpaks I have. I'm genuinely annoyed with how many stimpaks I have. I mean, I'm still using them. So that's good. But I am actually having to give a lot of them away or sell them to vendors because I am used to carrying over 100 stimpaks, but I'm not used to carrying over 200, and I have gone over 200 twice in the week that this update has been live. And I don't know if this is a problem or not, but I'm just saying this is a thing. So if you were one of the people who was kind of turned off by the lack of stimpaks, which made healing and fighting a little bit more annoying, I am happy to say that that issue has been resolved in a way. So yeah, don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, and as we reach the final stretch of this video, we're going to kind of get into the should you buy this game. And a lot of people with their reviews will say it's up to you, and it really is. But I don't want to tell you what to do with your money, especially because the world is in a rough place right now, and some people are laid off. Like, the United States has, what, like a 15% unemployment rate, as opposed to the 3% previously. I think that number is right. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert. But, so I understand if money is tight for some people. So, should you buy this game? Maybe not. If you are interested in Fallout and you have the money and you want to buy it, then buy it. If you want to buy it and are looking for a reason not to buy it, I am not going to give you a reason not to buy it because I think you should buy it if you already want to. I've said buy it way too many times in the past couple sentences. But, if you're standoffish and you don't already own the game, then by all means, don't buy the game. Wait, and I guarantee you the game will be better in a couple months, in a year maybe. I don't know, but the game is getting better. So if you are standoffish, then feel free to wait and buy it later. Just keep your eyes on it. If you already own the game, because that is a big thing. I knew that Bethesda would try and fix the game, because they spent so much money on marketing this thing, and so many people already owned the game, they just didn't play it because everyone hated it. I knew that Bethesda would try and fix it. If you already own the game and are one of those people who owns it, you hated it, and you stopped playing it, come back. If you have the time, and you feel like a new adventure, you know, trying a couple things out, then by all means, come back. You will have fun with this update. I can almost guarantee that. It is a good change to this game, and overall a good addition to the Fallout series as a whole. And I think almost a better addition than Fallout 4. And I know that is, some people will disagree with me on that, but that is just my personal preference. I think that Bethesda genuinely did a good job, even though that there's it's not as long of a storyline as many would hope, and there is a little bit left to be desired. What they did was good. And they pulled a bit of a No Man's Sky where they, a year later after the game came out, they brought an update that really fixed issues, addressed concerns of the community, and made the game overall a lot more fun to play. So, if you have the game, please come back, give it a try. I play the game, so if you want to see me in the Wasteland, feel free, try find me, message me. I'm on PC as always. I don't really have a console. So yeah,